Dallas Cheer would like to welcome you to
Falcon Football Weekly!
Tanner snapping, here we go, shine drill. Ready, set.
As we roll into week 3 of the season, the Falcons pick up a solid win on Friday night against Frisco Centennial. To break it down and talk all things Falcon football, I'm pleased to be joined by head coach Michael Young. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, you and the staff are back to work this Sunday morning, game planning for Frisco Reedy, your first district game. You'll be back over at the Star Friday night at 7 p.m. Will you be able to break before the Cowboys-Giants kick this afternoon at 3? I know several of the coaches there are probably big Cowboy fans.
We usually get done about that time, so we usually have enough time to catch the end of the 12 o'clock games and get home for the start of the 3 o'clock games. We like to, we don't like to miss church. We got a lot of guys that go to church, but we try to get started as early as we can. Sunday, I know some staffs do it different, some work in the evenings, but I like the coaches to be home. I think being home with their families, as much as they can on Sunday afternoons and Sunday evening is important as much as we're gone. So we'll get out of here in time for kickoff and definitely for the Cowboys game.
Well, neither one of us grew up right here in the heart of Dallas Cowboy country. So, I didn't grow up a big Cowboy fan. I don't think you did either. We've talked in the past. You're actually a big Oakland Raider fan. The Evil Empire. How did that come about?
Well, I grew up in Kansas. We moved here when I think I was 9 years old. But when I was younger, my grandmother got me some Oakland Raider pajamas. I think when I was 6 years old. And I just kind of became an Oakland Raiders fan. All my family, dad, uncles, grandparents, everybody was Chiefs fans. I think, too, part of being a kid, I just liked to kind of root for the other team. And the Raiders were really good then, too. They were probably the best team in football, or one of the best 2 or 3 in football for about a 10-year period then. So I've just always been a Raiders fan.
Yeah, big fan of John Madden. As a coach, you can take a lot of attributes from how he led his team. And this talk, one more thing, we talk about teamwork a lot, Coach, and what it takes to win on the field and off the field. In the news here, Antonio Brown just got released from the Raiders, signs a 1-year deal with the New England Patriots. He is, in my opinion, definitely not a team player and making a big fiasco on social media. What's your message to not only your team but all the players out there about we before I and teamwork?
Well, there's so much of that kids, and I have younger boys that love football and follow football, and it's a shame that you see, they see things that happen like this. I'm glad he got released. I wish he wouldn't have got re-signed as quickly. I think it just goes to show that you can kind of do whatever you want, and if you're good enough, you're going to get paid for it. But I think it's not the way the football is. It's not how football teams win. You're not going to win with people like that in your locker room. It's such a football, I think, is the one sport more than any other, and that's why one of the reasons I like it is you have to have everybody on the same page and together. Even if you have a few people that are not and are in it for the wrong reasons or are selfish and don't put the team in what's best for the team first, it can spoil the whole thing. So it's an important thing is your team chemistry and having the right people in your locker room.
100% agree with that, Coach Young. Before we get into the Reedy game, let's talk about the win on Friday night. You're at home Friday night against Frisco Centennial, coming off a tough overtime loss with Denton Broncos. It was important to get off to a good start. With Brandon Eagle still not 100%, you give Trevor Moon his first start as a Falcon. What was going through his head, and what did you notice while he was just warming up and prepping for his first start?
Well, I think he did a good job. He's been relaxed. He's gotten so many snaps already in scrimmages and practices with the ones. So I think he felt really comfortable about it. I think we got off to a little bit of a shaky start. Some of that was us too. We kind of changed some personnel things that we're doing. I thought we got off to a little rocky start with some of that, but I think the things that we're doing and the way that Moon played, we're excited about it. I think we have some things we think we know we can the personnel groups where we need them and where people can be successful and for him to be successful.
The good news is he did not have to force a lot of things through the air as you held the lead the entire game with your defense pitching a shutout. He was 13 of 25 completions with 1 TD and only 1 interceptions for 173 yards, pretty efficient in the air, but led your ground attack with another 52 yards rushing on 16 carries, accounting for 225 yards of your total offense. You had to be pleased with those numbers for his first start.
Oh yeah, the interception that we had was really a kind of a miscommunication we had with what play we were running. He thought we were running comeback, and we'd put go on there, and so that was really just a mistake in the play that we were running more than him just making a bad throw or a bad read. So, and he did a good job of running our offense and our running game. Our running game is, we do a lot of zone read, so he has to make the right read, and he was making the right read and running the ball well doing that too. So we're going to be a different team this year than we've been in the past. We're not going to throw it 40 times a game. That's not going to be our deal. It's going to be running the ball with IK and Trevor Lindsay and in the other backs that we have, but we have 4 or 5 guys that got carries the other night, and I wouldn't say that he's managing the game. I think when sometimes people say that, they think, well, your quarterback's not any good. But I think, he just needs to make the throws he needs to. I thought he had a couple great throws on 3rd and long to move the chains. That both of those, right after that, we scored touchdowns. So he's going to get better and better. I know each week he practices hard, and he'll get better each week, and that's all we can ask him to do.
And in the film room as well, all players there for the Falcons, they'll learn from some opportunities they could have done some things better or differently. You mentioned the ground game. Not quite as effective on the ground game with your quarterback leading the rushing attack. IK had 9 carries for 39 yards. You did distribute the ball well. Trevor Lindsay, 9 carries for 19 yards. Hunter Markham, 3 carries for 28 yards. You're probably going to need to get a little more output from the rushing game moving into this week's matchup against Reedy. Yeah,
one thing that hurt us a little bit offensively too were penalties. We had about 100 yards of rushing wiped out. It's 65 of it on one play, and a lot of those penalties were not point of attack holding penalties either. So some of the penalties hurt us offensively. I think that was one of the things that I think slowed us down as much as anything. We had seemed like we had 6 or 7 offensive penalties that really put us in a bind and slowed down some of our point total and our output of yards.
Well, I was at the game down on the field as you came out at halftime, and we had a chance to talk, and you weren't real happy with the first half performance. And like you just mentioned, some of the mistakes the team was making, especially on the offensive side of the ball. However, we said, hey, the good news is your defense is holding them to 0 points, and you continued that in the second half. So, hey, as long as and I know you're real high on your defense this year, keep holding your opponent to 0 or very few points, you're going to win a lot of ball games.
Well, we need our defense to be good. We've got some good guys over there, Kobe Minor, of course, and we've got some good guys up front on the defensive line. And I told them after the game, we counting on them to be good and to win games for us. This is different than years past where we're going to score 40 points. The defense just needs to hold them to 35. That's not how we're playing. That's not how we're going to win games this year. They need to be dominant. They need to get turnovers, which I thought they did a great job of. Interceptions, fumble recoveries, a lot of 3 and outs. I thought Kobe also did a great job of fielding punts, and that's a big deal too. We got some yardage there that we didn't lose. He fielded everything, and I'm excited about our defense. I think they can be good, and we need them to be good. We need them to be dominant, and they're going to be tested this week for sure with Reedy.
Yeah, the Texas Tech commit, Kobe Minor, had a big game. Some other defensive players, Patrick Winger had 6 solo tackles, along with Junior Flores had 5. You're really spreading out the workload amongst multiple defensive players. Like we talked before, it takes all 11 on both sides of the ball to win a ball game. Any of the players that have really surprised you stepping up, maybe from a sub-varsity role last year, that have really impressed you on both sides of the ball?
Well, I think, Weir's one that's was a JV kid last year that's had a good start to the season and gets better every week. Blakely had a good game at linebacker too. So did Puckett. We need those guys to play well, but the thing that really I think keeps it going is our defensive line, and I thought they dominated the game, especially our interior guys, Michael Swallow and Junior Flores. They just dominated the game. It was hard for them to really do anything running the ball. I think they had 40-something yards rushing, but not only that, they get such a push up the middle. One thing that's really hard to get is pass rush from the interior guys at any level of sports. Any level of football, pro, college, or whatever. But those guys are able to do that, especially Junior. He is constantly in the quarterback's face, right in his face from the middle, and that really causes quarterbacks problems. So I think they were really the ones that were the big factor in the game the other night.
Well, I had to take a double take at the stat sheet, Coach. You mentioned they had Centennial had 40 yards rushing. You back out the quarterback sacks, and they end up with, I think, negative 6 or 7 yards of total rushing, which is unbelievable in Texas 5A football.
Yeah, like I said, they were dominant in pass rush and against the run, and we mixed up some kind of defensively, did some different stuff that I think we thought was going to help us through the year, and we were a little concerned about how it would go the first week, and I thought we did a great job. We stayed with our 4-man front, but we did some alignment stuff in the secondary and linebackers, a little different than we've done in the past. And it worked well. Now it's going to be, there's going to be people adjust to that. So that's what those guys are down in that room getting ready for right now in that defensive room.
Coach, we've talked about it before. Always a great experience to head over to Frisco and play at the home of the Dallas Cowboys inside the Star. For both the coaching staff, the fans, the players. Any different preparation this week since you'll be indoors and in such a festive environment?
Well, noise is a factor in that building. It's not the fans so much, but the bands. The bands are really loud when you get indoors, and especially if you're on the end of the opposing band, they like to make a lot of noise, and it makes it really hard in there to hear. So we listen to a lot of music during practice. One is for the noise, and the other one, the kids just like to listen to music. So it's some kind of, and it brings an energy to practice. But I think this week will be a little bit more. It'll be a little bit louder, and it's going to be important for our kids, especially offensively, and communicating and getting ready for that noise and not making it a factor with false starts and offsides and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was driving by Lake Dallas the other day while you were practicing, and there was I don't know if you got a big subwoofer going, but boy, you could hear it from outside the stadium. I'm sure it gets those players jazzed up to get on the field, and probably a little extra burst of speed when they got the good music going, no doubt. Now, Coach, Frisco Reedy has a big-name quarterback. The pedigree's there, son of the Cowboys quarterback coach John Kitna and Jalen Kitna. He's a junior Boston College commit, big 6'3" frame, and been around the game his whole life. I'm sure he and his dad talk football a lot of the time. Any keys on slowing him down this Friday night, and what you expect from that kid?
Well, I think the key with Reedy is going to be, and I know it sounds funny, to control their passing is going to be controlling their run game. They haven't run the ball as well as they did last year in the first 2 weeks, and I think it's hurt them some offensively. So I know the big focus they're going to have this week is getting their run game going again. They've got some big physical offensive linemen. I think they got an OU commit. They have a couple others. So I know Coach Cole, and I know what their staff is going to be doing this weekend, and they're going to be sitting down thinking, we got to run the ball better because we're not running the ball very well, and it's hurt us in these first 2 games. We're going to throw it too much. So I can see that being a real focus. So like I told the defense, don't expect as much throwing of the ball as they've done in the last 2 games. I think they're going to go back to really concentrating on the run. It's going to be really important for us to be good against the run. If we are, and we get them in that passing mode, kind of like Centennial had to get into the other night, then we can let our pass rush go to work, and that's gonna help us. But it's gonna be